Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce that Artemis II will be launching tomorrow, April 1st, 2026, around 6:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time from Cape Canaveral, sending 4 astronauts aboard Artemis II, a trip to the moon, a trip that pretty much we haven't been to in 53 years. Basically, what this mission is all about is planting the seeds for one day launching, landing on the moon, and lunar colonization. So basically, what to expect for the 4 astronauts on Artemis 2. Well, I'm going to kind of walk through the 10-day, day by day map of basically what to expect as we kind of collect data. We learn about the Artemis 2 program itself. We learn about Artemis itself. We learn about just everything that's leading up to just exploring the moon, but also laying the foundation of the of future interplanetary travel. So let's talk about it. I'm going to walk through the 10-day, day by day plan based on all the chicken scratch I have all over my whiteboard. So let's talk about it. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome to the Lunar Space Talk Radio and also the Chris Nation 4 YouTube channel. Also, I do have a Spotify channel, which we're putting the everything that's related to the space race and the Artemis program, everything that's leading up to the future of lunar colonization, pretty much everything that's on YouTube will be also placed onto Spotify. It's called the Lunar Space Race Radio, which go check it out on Spotify. Basically, it's basically what you're seeing on YouTube, but just on the go, basically. So you're pretty much either A, you can watch the video itself, or B, you can actually listen on the go with the audio on. Yeah, go give that podcast channel some good stars, 5 stars, because it's one of the best podcast channels and the best channel I've ever made. Um, yeah, let's walk through the 10 day by day plan of Artemis 2. So, we're going to walk through the day by day in the 10 days that the 4 astronauts will experience day by day. So, basically, if everything goes right, Artemis 2 launches April 1st, 2026, around 6:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Consider that everything goes well, including make sure that the weather is perfect, making sure that the clouds are not rising, and that will result in saturation. And then, pretty much, if they detect some possible chances of rain, they may have to delay it 5 to 10 minutes. Considering that everything goes well, NASA says that there's meteorologists that are around that area, pretty much looking at the satellites, looking at the radars, looking at pretty much the possible chances of moisture in the air. And yes, there is potential moisture in the air because it's getting saturated, but that's not able to pose any threat because now you can see that there's moisture that's moving offshore, away from Orlando nearby. Um, there's no lift. Winds are very calm. They're lasting about 10 to 15 knots in the time that NASA has announced. Consider that everything goes well. They're checking everything tomorrow morning, starting around, I'm going to say 3 a.m. And if everything goes well, and as procedures are going through, uh, the astronauts will wake up around 9, get breakfast, and then they will pretty much try on the suits, make sure that the suits are in perfect shape. Everything is going well, make sure everything fits, make sure that everything is up to code and everything's regulated for safety, everything's good. And then the crew will pretty much be getting ready to get onto the launch pad and start huddling into the the capsule pretty much. And considering that everything goes well, they'll get buckled in. Um, and yeah, the missions will keep going. and preparations will go for another few hours. Considering that everything goes well, meteorologists will still pretty much look at everything, make sure that everything's good to go, and pretty much by the time 624 appears, pretty much it should be a good to go. So yeah, so consider that everything goes well tomorrow, and we reach that threshold. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Um, Artemis II will begin to launch 8.8 million pounds of thrust as the rocket climbs through the atmosphere and everything goes well. And pretty much as it gets to a certain height, that means the solid state rocket boosters that are connected to the actual main fuselage will begin to separate, including its hardware. And everything goes well as it climbs higher and higher and higher into towards the exosphere, out into space. Everything is going well. The first 8 minutes, the rocket core itself will shut down and separate, leaving the Orion capsule itself that contains the 4 astronauts attached to the upper stage. That stage fires into place. The ship will begin to orbit around the Earth at a very low orbit. So pretty much starting just about here, like just not even like a millimeter above Earth's surface in that scale. So everything goes well, and then after all, Orion will move into low orbit into a highly oval shaped, uh, being tens of thousands of miles above the Earth's surface, placing it around like out here compared to the scale, and pretty much following that oval shape and pretty much escaping Earth's gravity all the way out to the moon. So yeah, that's day one. Consider that everything goes well. By day two, the crew will eventually start to test the life support systems. This needs to be protocol to make sure that there's breathable air for the crew, making sure that the cabin is in check with breathable air for 4 astronauts to keep them surviving and keep the mission going as long as they can. Make sure that communications are in check because they have to communicate back to Houston. They have to communicate their systems to everywhere else. Um, yeah, communication is key. Um, yeah, by days 3 to 5, the moon journey. So the engines will continue to burn to keep the ship in its flight path. It will go through these burn cycles. You know, if if the if the Orion capsule kind of strays out of its own flight path, then the burns will eventually happen to keep into its or near the flight path itself to some degree, and there will be at least 8. I think um, most ships will go through this 8 burns at a time. Depends on the route, pretty much. There will be at least 8 burns or something to keep that flight path in check. Um, Astronauts will continue to practice emergency procedures, radiation protection, demonstrating plans for future missions. If Artemis II goes well, Artemis III will plan to um, send their ship to low Earth orbit to practice the actual payload itself and the capsules um, to experience what conditions are going to be happening as they go to the moon for Artemis 4. Then that's what the practice procedures will happen as they are going to work. Um, yeah, everything goes well. Uh, ba, 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 ba. The small engines continue to burn to keep on the path. By day 5, the ship will enter the moon's sphere, meaning that the lunar gravity becomes much stronger than Earth's pull. So pretty much now they're going to be relying on the lunar pole to force it to orbit around it. By day 6, by day 6 will become the biggest part of the mission, is the actual orbit around the moon. The Orion capsule will pass 4 to 6,000 miles above the lunar surface. The moon will be, according to one of the Artemis II astronauts out there, they said that the moon will appear just as the size of a basketball at arm's length. Orion flies behind the moon and expected communications to black out as they are on the opposite side of the moon, on the far side. No, not the dark side of the moon. Thank you to Pink Floyd. So basically, they're going to be orbiting around the backside, the far side of the moon, where they said they're going to be halting or communications are blocked. So there's no communications between the moon and the Earth, being on that side of the moon. So yeah, so everything is in check. Make sure that everything's good. You know, they must be demonstrating something on the far side of the moon that we've really never seen before as they orbit around the moon, especially on the far side. So yeah, everything goes well. Day 6 is the best one of all. Now, by day 7 to 9 is the actual return mission back to Earth. After rounding the moon, Orion begins their return mission back to home without engine burn. So basically, the ship will now rely on the moon's gravity to propel them outside of its own gravity straight to Earth. The ship will have to rely on the combined gravity of Earth and the moon to guide it home. The, the crew continues to do the basic procedures like communications, radiation, just procedures for future missions, crew check, breathable air, etc. And again, burns will still be happening to keep the Orion capsule guiding back to its original flight path back to the Earth. And by day 10 is the actual return mission. So again, it already gave out on the moon's gravity. Now it's already in free, pretty much in deep dark space now. And now it gets captured by Earth's gravity, where Earth's gravity will start pulling it in. And then Orion approaches Earth. The service module separates and then exposes the heat shield, where so the Orion module will exceed temperatures as it travels thousands of miles per hour through the atmosphere. Temperature will exceed up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Start to re-enter Earth, and eventually, just using Earth's gravity and also the thermodynamics of the atmosphere will eventually, the atmosphere will slow them down, and eventually, as they slow down, as they re-enter, um, um, so when they head towards the Earth as they're burning up in the atmosphere, communications will obviously be blocked because of the particles, the fiery particles. Again, as they start slowing down, using the Earth as its own polar, as it enters that atmosphere, slow down, and they eventually splash off the coast of San Diego, California. I think 25 miles off the coast, and eventually the Artemis II home sweet home. And yeah, becoming the first 4 astronauts in 53 years. I wish them all the luck, and that goes for NASA and the Artemis II crew members. I wish you all the luck on your mission tomorrow. I hope everything goes well. And yeah, like I said, you guys experienced a lot, and good luck on your endeavors to eventually become the first people in 53 years, mind you, to pretty much plant the seeds, for future missions to the moon. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, keep exploring.